the EDA session to order. John, roll call, please.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Adams?
Here.
Commissioner Banks?
Here.
Commissioner Budashevsky? Commissioner Cummings?
Here.
Commissioner Kaiser? Commissioner LaRoche? Commissioner Parsons?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Item number 3, we'll consider the approval of the minutes from the 2015 regular meeting. Commissioner Adams?
I move approval of those minutes.
All right.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Cummings, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, item number 4.
All right, thank you, President Banks. This is our annual budget and tax levy request from the EDA to the City Council. The 2022 levy, this year's levy was $310,000. The proposed 2023 levy would be $316,000, which is a 2% increase. It's important to note that this is, I won't get into that percentage with all the spaces to the right of the decimal point, but it is substantially lower, roughly 2/3 the maximum allowable HRA levy under the law. So here's the budget summary for 2023. As you see on the far right column, we expect to have a balanced budget for 2023, which has been a challenge for the EDA over the last several years. And we are starting to see some stability in the projected fund balance. For 2023, we'll continue pursuing redevelopment projects, especially in the town center area. That's the main commercial area surrounding Becker Park. We'll continue to expand our beautification and branding efforts, and that will include extending our storefront improvement program from 2022 into 2023. We are going to continue to work on the sale of EDA-owned property for development. The 2 photos on the slide of 4824 56th and the EDA property at the northwest corner of 34th and Douglas. Both of those we expect to sell in the first half of next year. And so with that, we're requesting adoption of the resolution approving the 2023 EDA budget and HRA tax.
Are there any comments, questions, feedback, anything? Something, and I guess kind of more like to emphasize on what you pointed out as it relates to, just because we can do a tax request for be about $500,000, we don't. And that, I guess it's kind of more highlighting we're not taxing simply because, the maximum allowed point just because we can, but being mindful of what is budgeted and only requesting what the budget is, right?
That is exactly how I characterize it, yes. We're taxing for what we need to do, not what we can tax for.
Okay, I think that's just real important to highlight, especially in, as the conversations of tax dollars continue to, continues to come up, a lot in different conversations and things like that. And I think it's important that the citizens, anybody listening or that cares, that, that the council, and even EDA, that we're acting not just in accordance of, all right, let's just, because this is what we can do, no, we're only doing what we have to do. But I think it also leaves some room, to kind of think about going forward, even though I won't be here to say, okay, that if there are some projects or some things that come available, that the EDA has that space, that flexibility to generate more, revenue to take on some additional projects or things. And with that, do I have a motion? Commissioner Adams.
I'd like to make a motion approving the 2023 EDA budget and the HRA tax levy.
We have a second? Commissioner Parsons?
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Item number 5.
Thank you again. So this is the annual contract renewal for the Home Improvement Grant Administration contract with Center for Energy and the Environment. The contracts run from July through June, but the reason we ask you to approve it basically 6 months in advance at the start of the contract is so that in the unlikely event the EDA were to decide to terminate the program, there would be 6 months to wind it down before the current contract runs out. Because as you know, home improvement projects, from the time you kind of conceive of them to the time you actually finish them, I mean, 6 months is not really that long. So we need that buffer in order to terminate the program if that were something you were to decide you wanted to do. Does not seem to be the case based on previous discussions, so we are proceeding with bringing you the 2023, the July 23 through June 24 contract before you tonight. The program budget is $306,000. Roughly 90% would come from the Housing TIF District and 10% from the EDA, and these are all in the budget that the council will be considering tonight. The main thing we probably need to talk about, or at least you need to be aware of for me to highlight tonight, is the proposed changes to the way the administrative fees are calculated. Center for Energy and the Environment's fixed costs have been going up, and they also spend a lot of time on grants that never go anywhere. So they incur costs, but they don't get the administrative fee resulting from a grant that's actually approved and finalized. So one of the changes that they are seeking, and staff is supportive of, is to increase the annual lump sum from $2,500 to $5,000 per year. That seems like a low cost considering how much work they do for us before they ever actually get to collecting an administrative fee based on a particular grant. The other thing they have asked for, and then we also support, is to replace the current fee, which is 15% of the grant, with a flat $500 fee per grant. Right now, the administrative fees for large grants, for larger projects, are a lot more than that, and then they're almost nothing for the really small projects. But each grant takes roughly the same amount of time, regardless of how big it is. So right now, with our current minimum project size of $3,000, because it's a 20% grant, that would only be a $600 grant. That would mean that if we went with a $500 flat fee, the administrative fee for the grant would be almost as much as the grant itself. So if you want to mitigate that somehow, one way to do it would be to increase the minimum project size to 4,000, or you could even go higher than that. But by going to 4,000, you would eliminate the smallest grants, roughly 8 per year. So that's something you should discuss tonight, about whether you want to keep the minimum project size at 3,000 or increase it to 4,000. And then the third change would be that CEE is proposing to increase the post-installation inspection fee from 100 to 150. Now this is for projects that are eligible for a grant but don't require a city permit, so we're not already inspecting them. But obviously, CEE needs to come out and make sure that the work the homeowner, whoever says they did, actually got done to make sure the program isn't being abused. At $100, it wasn't a big deal to have them come out a handful of times a year for those projects. At $150, we'll figure out a way to do those ourselves in-house to save that money. So that's what we're proposing to do, is we will just start doing those at the beginning of this next contract. So if you want to look at the administrative fees, the left-hand column is doing an apples-to-apples comparison of 6 months of actual data extrapolated out to a full year. The left-hand column is, under the current contract, what the administrative costs are. The middle column is the proposed contract with that new administrative fee structure, keeping the minimum project size at 3,000. Even there, the administrative fees as a percentage of program cost are only 17.5%, which isn't much higher than they are under the current contract. But if you feel that's too high, then in the far right column, you have what would happen if we increase the minimum project size to 4,000. It still goes up a little bit as a percentage of the total program cost, but not by much. So I think I should stop there and see if there's any EDA discussion on the question of project size and the administrative fee structure.
Brendan?
I'm sorry, I was thinking, and Go ahead. I'll
Um,
continue.
Correct me if I'm not wrong, maybe I am. Didn't we reduce that so that we would have that funding last longer, or is that a different program?
One thing we didn't change is the project size. We did reduce the maximum we didn't change the minimum, but we did reduce the maximum project or the maximum grant, excuse me.
Okay.
From 10,000 to 8,000. That was one of the changes we did a year ago to kind of extend the life of the program.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
So they're increasing the admin fee, right? And I was just trying to make sure I pieced it all together. And then instead of the inspection fees, we would take that on, is what you're saying, in-house, right? To kind of start to make up the cost there for the increased admin fee?
Yes, sir, we'd be mitigating the other increases in in administrative costs by taking that work on and just working it into our workflow somehow. We'll figure it out. But we'll just do those in-house to help mitigate the impact of the higher administrative costs.
Okay. And so what you're showing here, so instead of where it's at right now, it's about 15.8%. Is that taking in the inspection costs as well, or no?
Yes, because we do there are roughly 20 of those a year
Okay.
at the $100 per current fee.
Okay.
And so that's accounted for in that 15.8% number.
Got it. And so then the proposed contract, okay. So then it would only be roughly about a 0.4% increase.
If you increase the minimum project from 3,000 to 4,000, to
Understood.
exclude the smaller grants.
Understood. Anybody else? Anything? Okay, I mean, I like that, of increasing the project minimum to 4,000. Anybody else have any objection?
Do not, no.
Okay. So then so what do we need to do then next? Are we with the,
Sorry. I should have gone to right at the last slide, I apologize. So we just need a motion to approve the contract for July 23 through June 24, and the motion should specify whether you want to keep the $3,000 minimum project or increase it to 4,000.
understood. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Make the motion to approve the contract for the Center for Energy and Environment for the Administration of Home Improvement Programs from July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, with an increase of the minimum project size to $4,000. Second? Commissioner Parsons?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, item number 6, property status update.
All right, thank you. In the interest of time, won't go through the whole laundry list of projects going on, but I did want to mention that it turns out Snipes will not be locating in the old half-price book space. They had sort of rough plans ready and everything else, but they didn't actually proceed. So that is not going to be filled, at least not by Snipes. So we have reached out to the mall owner again. So hopefully they will come up with a different tenant or some other plans for the former half-price book space. In terms of good news, ODA Medical Clinic's construction has proceeded a lot faster than anticipated, and they might be open by the end of this month. So, and then Crystal Vision will probably open 2 to 3 months after that. So those 2 new medical clinics will be open here by probably around the end of the first quarter of 2023. And that's all I have.
All right, any other business?
No, sir.
All right, motion to adjourn? Commissioner Adams?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Commissioner Cummings, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.